If this season for the New York Giants is truly about development and trying to see if any young players on this roster can turn into starters, they need to trade this player for a starting corner. We're going to break that down on today's show. But first, make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. And the first 10 people that give me a follow, I'm going to give you a follow back. So be a real one and show some love. Welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. As I wanted to talk about this today, following joint practices against the New York Jets yesterday, following the preseason game against the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans, and really all of the summer practices the Giants have had, it is obvious that they need to go out and add a starting caliber corner to this team. And a way they can do that is by trading a veteran at a certain position to let a younger player play, because everyone tells me, Marshall, we don't need to go out and add or trade or sign a veteran. It's about development. So how about the New York Giants go out and trade Darius Slayton for a starting corner and let Jalin Hyatt become a starting receiver for this team? So A, you can figure out if Jalin Hyatt is that guy, and B, you get better at a position that right now is going to cost you games in the upcoming NFL season. Jalin Hyatt has been working with the second and third offense, and that's because Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Darius Slayton have been the trio of starting receivers for the New York Giants. Slayton is better than Hyatt right now. Slayton is much more accomplished in the NFL. He's got 4 seasons of more than 700 yards, and he's been the Giants' leading receiver, it seems like, for every single year at this point. But if this year is truly about development and trying to find out if some of the young players that Joe Schoen has drafted can turn into long-term pieces and players that are going to get second contracts for this team, they need to figure out if Jalin Hyatt is that guy, because if he is going to be your 4th wide receiver this year, he's just not going to get the opportunities unless injuries happen to make it work. Also, Darius Slayton, he's on an expiring contract. He's going to enter free agency. Are the Giants going to give Slayton a decent contract in free agency to bring him back to once again have Jalin Hyatt as the 4th wide receiver? That seems like a mismanagement of assets to me. Also, Slayton wanted a bump in pay this year. Giants gave him a little bit. Supposedly, they searched the trade market. There weren't really any teams out there that want him. Whereas Darius Slayton said, I have plenty of value across the league, and there were teams that wanted me. I believe the Giants should trade Darius Slayton for a starting corner. And I think you can get a pretty solid corner because Darius Slayton is a pretty damn solid receiver. I wouldn't be talking about trading a bad receiver to get a good cornerback. Slayton's good, and it would hurt the Giants' offense a little bit if Slayton's no longer on this team. But it also gives them an alley and a path to travel down and find out if Hyatt is that guy. Slayton's good, man. 3 out of the last 4 years, more than 724 yards. He leads this team, it seems like, every single year he plays in receiving yards, and he is a go-to target and a security blanket and a shoulder that Daniel Jones has leaned on at times when he is not all that comfortable. But I believe in the other offensive playmakers on this team. You got Malik Neighbors. He's your clear-cut one. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be your slot. We got to find out what Jalin Hyatt is, and you have a young tight end in Theo Johnson. Yes, losing Slayton would hurt, but I think losing Slayton to upgrade Hyatt and then add more talent to this cornerback depth chart makes a whole lot of sense. Because right now, this corner depth chart is bad. Like, it just is what it is. I want to come up here and tell you I got all the faith in the world in Deonte Banks, but I don't. There's a reason that he was graded outside the top 100 of corners last year by Pro Football Focus. Not saying they are the Bible and everything they say is 100% a stone cold fact, but they do watch the tape and they are unbiased. If they graded him outside the top 100, probably means he didn't have that good of a year, which is fair because he is a rookie. Cordell Flott is hurt. Drew Phillips is a rookie. Trey Hawkins showed me last year he's not ready to play. Darnay Holmes is fighting for a roster spot. Nick McLeod got roasted time and time again by the New York Jets yesterday. He's a good back end of the depth chart guy. He's not a starting corner in this league. And I say that with all the respect in the world to Nick McLeod, who I have a lot of love for. He works hard. He's a good player, just not a starting boundary corner. And I do expect the Giants to be aggressive in the waiver wire. So maybe the Giants don't go out and make a trade for a corner. They look to the waiver wire, which will happen Tuesday and Wednesday next week, and that's when they do it. But I really do just want to hammer this home. If we're talking about development and we're prioritizing the youth and we're moving a youth movement for this team, Jalin Hyatt needs to be made a priority. We got to find out if that guy's an NFL receiver. What do you think? Should the Giants trade Darius Slayton for a starting cornerback? Let me know your thoughts. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Coming up around the corner, I have not one, not two, not three. Well, it is three. Not one, not two, but three. That's how you say that. It's Thursday, baby. Let's go. 3 corners the New York Giants can trade for. We'll mention those around the corner. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, Game Time. If you're looking to buy last-minute tickets to go to the Giants and Jets preseason game this Saturday, you want to go catch a Yankees or a Mets game before the summer's over, or you want to go to a concert or a comedy club or some type of event that you got to buy tickets, you can do it with our proud sponsor, Game Time, because you get the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. Prices actually drop as the events get closer. And there are so many things to love about Game Time, but in my opinion, the best feature that they have that have made me a Game Time and Game Time only user is the all-in pricing feature. Nobody likes getting to check out on ticketing apps and getting smacked upside the head with $127 in hidden fees. I don't got time for that. I also don't got the bread for that. What I see is what I want to pay. Show me 3 tickets for $100. I want to pay $100. That's why I always use the all-in pricing feature with the Game Time app. And it's Giants games, concerts, theater events, and so much more. Shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's show. It's the only ticketing app that I use. Not sure what took me so long, but when I got introduced to them last off season, I have not changed since. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase where terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All that information will be clickable down in the comments and description of today's show. Alrighty, let's dive into it. 3 corners that the New York Giants can trade for. I do not have J.C. Horn mentioned in this list. A lot of people have messaged me. They have sent me mentions on Twitter saying, Marshall, what about J.C. Horn? I don't think the Giants are going to trade him. I know that Joe Schoen has a really good relationship with the Carolina Panthers GM. Maybe he can highway robbery him again, but I just don't see a way that the Panthers are giving up on J.C. Horn yet. So let's turn to this guy, Paulson Adebo, a starting corner for the New Orleans Saints, a cornerback depth chart that New Orleans actually has a lot of talent at. Some of the reasons you may be asking why, Marsh, would they trade a good player like Paulson Adebo? One, he's entering the last year of his contract, and there are thoughts amongst the New Orleans Saints community that he may play so well this year that he's going to out-earn what the Saints are willing to pay them, considering New Orleans lives in salary cap hell every year and are expected to be north of $80 over the salary cap. Also, they are going to prioritize, in my opinion, keeping Marshawn Lattimore. They're going to work on that contract and keep him a part of this team. And he's a solid player. And he's still just 25 years old. Love the size. 6'1", 192 pounds. And I also think that the Saints could go out and add another receiver to this team. We'll talk about that in a second. But the main reason that I think they could trade Paulson Adebo is if you're going to prioritize keeping Lattimore and you just drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry at the top of the second round, are you really going to go out and give Paulson Adebo a bag? Because he's probably going to earn it. Last year, in 2023, played really, really well. 4 interceptions, 18 pass breakups, a quarterback rating when targeted of just 62.7. And PFF thought he was really good as well. Graded out as a top 30 corner, an overall grade of 78.6, and he fared really well in coverage with almost an 81 overall grade. The guy is sticky in coverage. And I think Darius Slayton would be a good addition to the Saints wide receiver room. Love Chris Olave. He's a stud. Rashid Shaheed, he's going to have a really good year this year and I think put his name on the map. But I think they could use a third guy. A.T. Perry hasn't really proven it yet in the National Football League to me. Cedric Wilson has bounced around the last couple of years. And if you could throw Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Darius Slayton out there, New Orleans could put a formidable receiving group around Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, and all the other talented players that they have. Paulson Adebo would be the one guy that I would love for the Giants to go out and trade for. Another one is a veteran. And what about Jonathan Jones? the former Cowboy, now playing for the New England Patriots, played really good last year. He is 30 years old, so he is, I would say, obviously closer to the end of his career than the beginning. But I think adding a veteran at 30 years old who has been good in multiple defenses and has learned how to be a pro could help a guy like Deonte Banks. I truly believe in the NFL you need to invest in your investments. And the way that the Giants can do that is by trading for Jones, who would help Banks and also give you a number one corner on this team so Banks doesn't have to be that guy and he can continue to develop at the pace of play that he is going at. Jones was really good for New England last year, over 75 grades in overall and coverage, had 7 PBUs, and when targeted, only allowed a completion percentage of 57.1. And like the Saints, I think that the Patriots could use another wide receiver. I think Jalen Polk's going to be really good. Pop Douglas is a good slot receiver. Kendrick Bourne's all right. But, man, give Drake May something to work with. Darius Slayton, I think, could come in and be the best wide receiver on this team. I think Bourne's solid. Polk's a rookie. Douglas is a slot, but if you're looking for a guy on the outside that consistently puts up 700 yards, can take the top off, and let Drake May fire it down the field at Gillette Stadium, I think that'd be a really good pairing for that team. And Patriots aren't going to be good. They may pick first in the draft again. Do they really care about keeping a 31-year-old corner? How about you prioritize the development of your young quarterback and add a guy like Darius Slayton? Last player, maybe a little bit of a lottery ticket purchase for the New York Giants. What about Kaiir Elam, the former Florida Gator that will be entering his third year in the National Football League? Remember back in the 2022 NFL Draft, there was a lot of smoke and a lot of rumors about the Giants being really interested in Kaiir Elam. Maybe they trust their scouting profile grade and they trust their analytics department and think, yeah, it hasn't worked out all that well for Buffalo for Elam. Maybe in our system, where we believe he's a good player, pair him with Deonte Banks. You got 2 young corners on the outside. It could maybe benefit you down the line. You could turn around his great 55 tackles in his career so far. Played in just 16 games, dealing with some injuries last year. And he's kind of fallen out of the starting role for that team. Has 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, a completion percentage of 70.4 allowed, and he has allowed 3 TDs in the last 2 seasons. I grabbed 3 different players to talk about corners. A starter and Paulson Adebo, who's young. A veteran and Jonathan Jones, who is a starter on the back of his career. And then a former first-round pick in Kaiir Elam, who hasn't really lived up to it. Because I'm not really sure what Darius Slayton's trade value is. But I do know he's a solid football player, and he could help any wide receiver core that needs to add a talented receiver. I just don't know if the Giants really need him. And I don't know, need is not the right word. They would obviously be better if he is on this team. But if we're talking about development, which I have heard is the theme of the year for the Giants, don't we want to find out what Slayton is, find out what Hyatt is, instead of just having Slayton take his reps? Well, the Giants got to pay Slayton in free agency. I don't know. What's your confidence level in the Giants' corners? Because that's why we're doing it. We're doing it more to add a corner, and we're taking a player at a position that we're pretty good at with young players that need to produce, and potentially adding a corner that is a starter that could help this team. Because right now, my confidence level is a 1 to 10. What's your confidence level in this DB group right now? Make sure you are following me on social media. First 10 people that give me a follow today, I'm giving you a follow back. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. Be a real one. Trying to grow my game over there, and I need your help. So please, please, please hit me up, and let's go Big Blue.